Hello and welcome back to Fandom Fridays, where we proceed to check out all the fanfics that are not pony related. Why? Because it's Star Trek's 50th anniversary! You people thought I forgot, didn't you? No, I didn't. I've been spending all day watching SF Debris reviews, Nostalgia Critic reviews, like car reviews, been watching Star Trek episodes, thinking about what Star Trek means to me as a fan. I've been doing everything I can to deep myself in Star Trek lore. And I'm even thinking of watching the newest Star Trek movie when it comes out this summer. Yes, I'm loving every single minute of it. And of course, you guys could probably guess that I am a Star Trek fan. Yes, my favorite movie is Wrath of Khan, followed closely by First Contact and movie 6. Everything about this has been epic. And what better way to celebrate it than doing a couple of fanfics? Especially ones involving a character who died recently. Yeah, spoilers, but I think by now Han's death in The Force Awakens has entered into it was his sled territory. So without further ado, let's watch this. We here at the Barry Memorial Library and proud to present A Scoundrel and a Starfleet Officer Walk Into a Bar by Dan S. 20105. So whatever happened to the 2014 Dans? Enjoy. A Scoundrel and a Starfleet Officer Walk Into a Bar by Dan S. 2015. A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away. Or somewhere in the future, because time and space are relative. The most famous bar in the Orion star system was a place called Leonard's Oasis. It was the kind of place that attracted the powerful and powerless, gallant and the scoundrel, the famous and the infamous, the martyr, the victim. This is war. Everyone who was anyone, any of those who were no one, made sure to visit Leonard's Oasis at least once during their time in the Orion system. Small-time smuggler Han Solo, a young man with long sideburns, an earring, and very little fashion sense, was a frequent visitor to Leonard's. Like a lot of the young men who frequented the place, he first visited the bar due to the reputation, which had more to do with the women who worked there than it did available liberations. Orion women were green-skinned and knew throughout the galaxy for their beauty. The first time Han laid eyes on one, he realized how well-deserved their rep was. It was then he decided he was going to marry one of them someday. After he finished selling all his wild oats, of course. Han's favorite Orion woman was a stunning beauty named Quintana, a woman with flawless skin, hypnotic blue eyes, and long curly black hair. He had been working at Leonard's the entire time Han had been coming there. He had been smitten by her from the first moment he seen her. It was also certain that she was equally smitten with him, due no doubt to his immaculate sideburns, neatly trimmed goatee, and stylish earring. Han was not disappointed when Quintana greeted him with a smile as he entered the bar on one unremarkable summer day on Orion. Quintana also greeted Han's Wookiee co-pilot and platonic life companion, Chewbacca, with the same smile. But Han didn't read anything of significance into this. He knew Quintana only had eyes for him. Friendly or flirtatious behavior with other patrons of the bar was only part of Quintana's job. Your usual buff near the back is open, Han, Quintana said, still smiling. She gently brushed her long black hair over her right shoulder, and Han knew this was a significant body language clue that she was totally into him. Thanks, Quinny. It was a great show you made a couple of hydro slammers. Sure thing, sweetie. Quintana disappeared behind the bar. While she was out of sight, Han elbowed Chewie in the ribs. Hear that? She called me sweetie. Chewbacca let out a grief gurgle lilt that sounded like the first signs of indigestion, but in fact meant good grief in the Wookiee's native tongue. Actually, warning. What Martial Art Freak User is about to do is about to go into something really, really, really geeky that would only be available if you went into the expanded universe. Trixie repeats. You should probably go get yourself a drink for a few seconds. This might be a long one. Actually, what to Wookiees speak is actually a very weird form of basic. Actually, it's just that their dialect is so thick that to us it comes out as grunts of girls. As a matter of fact, in the Thrall trilogy, we meet a Wookiee who has a very weird dialect compared to the others, and that he speaks normal. Remember, folks, when dealing with alien races, do not immediately assume anything. He followed Han to their booth in the back, where he sat across from his friend and waited on the highly intoxicating Hydra Slammer that would dull his senses enough to deal with Han's lovesick buffoonery for the rest of the evening. Captain James T. Kirk, currently one of the youngest captains in all Starfleet, adjusted his dark leather vest in the mirror of his personal quarters aboard the Starship Enterprise, as his friends and next in command, Spock, looked on in indifference. I hear these vests are all the rage among smugglers, scoundrels, and pirates in this part of the galaxy, Spock. What do you think? I suppose it makes sense to attempt to blend in with the locals while on shore leave, Captain, Spock said, without actually answering the question prose. Indeed it does, Spock. I've heard great things about a local watering hole called Leonard's Oasis. Do you want to come with me? Spock raised his eyebrow in a way Kirk had grown accustomed to during his time as captain. I was thinking about an educational vacation. There are a number of fascinating museums on Orion. Come on, Spock. What's more educational than seeing people in their natural environment? You can learn a lot in a museum, but you can learn a lot more in a bar. Trust me on that one. Spock considered Kirk's words, but did not want to concede the point. Perhaps it would be more prudent if I accompany you to this bar, Captain. As first officer, it behooves me to make sure you return from shore leave in one piece. Of course it does. Kirk patted Spock on the shoulder and directed him toward the door that would lead him to the hall and ultimately to the transporter room. Han put his empty bottle on the table and burped. I'm going to ask her out today. Chewie belts out the Wookiee equivalent of, I'll believe it when I see it, Han. But Han, who still had more trouble with Wookiee language than he cared to admit, mistranslated the sound to mean, go for it, buddy. Quintana stopped by the booth, still smiling. Can I get you guys another Hydra Slammer? Han nodded. Yes, please. When Quintana was gone, Han slammed his fist and banged his forehead at the table. Chewbacca chuckled. Han popped up quickly. Wrap it up, fuzzball. Chewbacca turned his head and saw Quintana standing near the bar's entrance, talking to a handsome young man and his pointy-eared companion, both of them who had just entered the bar. Han followed Chewie's gaze and felt his heart drop when Quintana put her hand on the man's arm. That gesture was a little too intimate for Han's taste. That's a nice vest, Han said quietly. Should probably get one of those. Captain Kirk stepped foot inside Leonard's Oasis and immediately fell in love. Who is that? He asked, seeing Quintana approaching. I do not know, Captain. I've never been in this establishment before, said Spock. Kirk ignored his friend and focused his gaze with photon-like precision on the green-skinned beauty standing before him. Welcome to Leonard's Oasis, said the woman. Kirk flashed his best diplomatic grin and tugged on his vest. We've heard great things about this place. I hope it lives up to its reputation, Quintana said with a friendly smile. So far, it has exceeded its reputation, Kirk said. Spock looked at his captain and raised his eyebrows. He wasn't sure what Kirk was talking about, but he assumed it must have been the beginning of a flirtation. With humans, one's never going to be certain. Quintana reached out and put her hand on Kirk's arm. I like your vest. Thank you. Kirk glanced, and Spock gave him a look that said, Told you so. Why does he follow me to a table near the bar? Of course. Quintana slid her arm in Kirk's and began to lead him away, Spock following close behind. Who does that guy think he is? Han growled at Chewie. He couldn't take his eyes off of Quintana, the vest-wearing stranger, and his pointy-eared friend. Chewie grumbled. He looks important. Probably a starship captain or a celebrity. You're not making me feel any better, said Han. You want to go rip that guy's arms off? No, as well rip the arms off. But it doesn't mean I could just go around doing that for no reason at all. Chewie roared. Han didn't bother translating this. He simply stood up and marched towards Quintana and her new friend, knowing that Chewie would follow no matter what he just said. Life deaths were funny that way. Quintana looked forward and saw Han and Chewbacca striding toward her and new friends. Han looked angry, and Chewbacca looked like he always did. A giant, terrifying carpet. But he's so adorable! Quintana's practiced smile faded ever so slightly. Do you need another drink, Han?
She remembers my name, Han thought. I knew it! She loves me.
Captain Kirk could tell this Han guy was something of a loose cannon. Kirk had been trying to deal with different situations like this. He didn't feel the least bit threatened by Han or his tall, hairy companion. From the looks of them, Kirk judged Han to be drunk and companion to be fairly sentient. Shouldn't be too difficult to handle, he thought. Can I buy you a drink? Kirk asked in his least threatening tone of voice. The look on his face said, we're all friends here. He hoped this would be enough to cause Han to calm down. But Kirk knew it wasn't likely to be easy. If it wasn't, always had Phaser to fall back on.
Who do you think you are?
Asked Han. The name's James T. Kirk, and you are...
Han Solo, but that's not what I meant.
I'm afraid I don't follow.
Of course you don't, James T. Kirk,
Han said, mocking Kirk's speech pattern. Quintana stepped toward Han to put a hand on him. Why don't you go back to your booth? I'll bring another Hydro Slammer to you, on the house. Han shook his head.
Quinny, I love you.
What? Asked Quintana. Chewbacca also growled the Wookiee equivalent of
What?
Was Keenan's quick hostile and threatening to everyone standing nearby. Spock looked at the Wookiee and tilted his head. Fascinating. I have never encountered your kind before. I imagine your language is quite difficult to master. Chewbacca growled something that even Han had a difficult time translating. What did he just say?
You probably don't want to know,
said Han. You're probably right. Look, we don't want any trouble here, Han. Like I said before, why don't I buy you a drink? Then, if you're still thirsty, Quinny can bring you another on the house, like she offered a minute ago. We've obviously stepped onto something here, and I feel like my friend Spock and I are somewhat out of our element.
I've got a better idea,
said Han.
How about we play a game of sabacc?
If you think that's prudent, said Kirk.
Oh, I do. I see the way you've been looking at Quinny.
Cortana started to protest. She still thought Han was crazy, and wasn't quite sure how to deal with or even acknowledge Han's declaration of love. But Kirk stepped in before she could say anything. I don't know who you are or what's wrong with you exactly, but let's do that. Let's play sabacc, Kirk said. Han turned to Quintana.
Give us a sabacc deck at a dealer. I see an empty table near the bar we can play.
Sure thing, Han. Quintana shuffled up a game. Spock, meanwhile, leaning close to Kirk and spoke close to ear. What is sabacc, Captain? I have no idea. Kirk struggled to grasp the rules and subtlety of sabacc for the first few hands he played. He caught onto the game quickly, though. It wasn't long before he began thrusting Han. Han, on the other hand, considered himself a master of sabacc. Despite being out of his teens, he played more high-stakes games than he can remember. The fact that an obvious newcomer to the game was doing as well against him as Kirk bothered him immensely. Han was willing to chalk Kirk's success to beginner's luck, but the stakes of the game were too high to actually lose to the guy. Han put his DL-44 heavy blaster pistol up against Kirk's leather vest. They weren't wagering starships, which were commonly wagered in targeting games of sabacc, but for Han, his blaster was too valuable to part with. He simply could not lose to this Kirk guy. Then there was the matter of Quintana. Han started this whole thing to impress her. If he lost to Kirk, he was going to lose more than his pride and blaster. He was going to lose any shot he had at wooing Quintana. The idea of cheating crossed Han's mind more than once. But he heard the penalties for cheating at sabacc, and the Orion system were quite stiff. Imprisonment stiff. So cheating was out of the question, even with Quintana's heart potentially on the line. Kirk looked up from his hand and smiled at Han. Nice sideburns, kid.
You have an interesting way of speaking, said Han. It's as if every word's its own sentence.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Kirk glanced over at Spock. If he didn't know better, he would have sworn the Vulcan was actually smiling. Han locked eyes on Kirk. He couldn't get a good read on the guy. Han had to head into his adversary. The guy was cool under pressure. Han believed he was typically cool under pressure himself, but Quintana's presence had a way of unnerving him. Beads of sweat popped up on Han's forehead. He looked over at Quintana and saw that, for once, there was no smile on her face. It seemed that even she had fallen under the game's spell, as had a number of other aliens and barflies, many of whom had formed a tense circle around the gaming table. Han's college wasn't that good, but he did his best to show confidence in his hand. He knew things would change in the blink of an eye in this game anyway. With one shift of the cards, he could go from losing a hand to holding an idiot's array, the best hand in the game. Of course, one shift of the cards could also leave him with a devastating pathetic hand, cost him his blaster, pride, and katana. Kirk looked at his hands. He had negative 21. Calling now would be risky, but what were the odds his hand could get any better? It was so close to 23 as it was. Surely Han's hand couldn't be better, he thought. Allowing another shift of the cards was a risky maneuver. Kirk hesitated, and the cards shifted. He had negative 23, a pure sabak. Kirk retained his calm. I call. Han's shoulder slumped so slightly. He reached over to reveal his cards. Flipped over the two he had been holding. He flipped over the next card, and a smile slowly spread across his face. It was the idiot. He had the idiot's array after all. Game over. Kirk didn't bother flipping over his own cards. There was no point. He stood up and removed the leather vest. A bet's a bet, said Kirk. Han took the vest and put it on.
Perfect fit,
he said. It's very nice, said Katana. Yeah, well, I'm the captain of a starship, Kirk said. And kid, that earring looks ridiculous. I'd lose it if I were you.
Did you say lose?
Han tugged on his fancy new vest.
Yeah, I thought so.
Kirk thought better of saying anything and decided to walk away instead. After all, Han had that fancy blaster of his. A weapon that looked more impressive than a phaser Kirk had brought him. Besides, Han won the game. No point in being a sore loser. I'm becoming a Starfleet officer. Well, Spock, you win some, you lose some, Kirk said. If it's any consolation, Captain, I feel like this trip has been quite educational. You were correct about being able to learn a lot in a bar. Why don't I buy you a Hydra Slammer, Spock? I'm not thirsty. Then you haven't learned anything yet. Kirk said and laughed. The two of them walked over to the bar, where Kirk ordered a couple of Hydro Slammers. Fresh off his sidewalk filtery, Han attempted to put his arm around Quintana's shoulder. She easily sidestepped him and slipped away. Han.
I meant what I said, Quinny. I love you.
Han, I don't like being called Quinny. You don't even know me. Chewbacca stifled a chuckle. You're a nice guy, but you and I aren't meant to be, said Cortana. Han felt his heart break. He was very sure he had heard it break too. I go by Quinn, and that is a nice vest, Han, but Kirk's right. Lose the earring and the goatee. Han did his best to flash a grin. He shrugged, determined not to fall apart in front of his hairy friend and the woman he loved.
You don't know what you're missing out on, sweetheart,
he said. It's my loss. Han nodded.
You're that right.
He turned to Chewbacca.
What do you say, pal? Why don't we go do something crazy? Like making the castle run in record time.
Chewbacca roared his approval, and Han headed towards the door.
See you around, Quinn.
I hope so, Katana said. Han Solo and Chewbacca disappeared from Leonade's Oasis for what would be the final time. Han looked up at Chewie as he passed the bar's entrance.
You know, sometimes winning isn't all that's cracked up to be,
Han said. Chewie gently slapped his friend with a back and let out a hearty growl.
Sounds like you learned something today, Han. It would be nice if you learned that if you look ridiculous with a goatee and earring.
Well, that was a lesson Lon would learn sometime in some other shady corner of the galaxy.
And that, Jaina, is how I got my leather jacket.
Dad, I'm about to head off to Jedi Knight Academy. Why did you bother telling me that story?
Because, Jaina, sometimes when your dad gets drunk, he's got to remember the good times.
Right.
Now, before you go to Jedi Academy, how about you pick up your little brother Kylo? I think the kid's not right in the head.
He's like the second biggest Anakin fanboy I've ever met. Yeah, there is something not right with him.
Wait, and who are you a fan of?
Uncle Luke, of course. We'd like to apologize for that Jaina and Han sketch. I just think that Jaina would actually be embarrassed by her little brother Kylo. Anyway, on to the review. This story, surprisingly, fun. I do like the idea that there wasn't any real animosity between the two characters. This was just something that would occur. Kirk trying to be, sensible, reasonable about the whole entire thing while still being a womanizer, and Han, well, this is a young Han Solo. I also love the idea that this was an origin story for an iconic piece of his garb. Now we know. And I kind of like the idea that we're listening to a story about a very young Han Solo who has no idea what he's doing. I like how this decided to demonstrate to us who Han was and how early on in his career we see him. It's kind of silly to watch. We also could tell that this is. Also, I would like to know if this was before or after he got the Millennium Falcon. Well, the card game wasn't nearly developed. What the bits we did see was enough to make us go, oh, okay. You see, here's the thing when you create an imaginary game, like what we just saw. There are two ways you can go about it. You can either spend the next few hours trying to tell us every single rule, or you can give us tiny bits and pieces to allow us to see what the game is like. A good example of this is, Yu-Gi-Oh! We start off with them right in the middle of the game, and then Anazu immediately goes, oh, these are the rules. Ding! Done. First episode done, and we get into the game. A bad way to do it was in Final Fantasy VIII, with that whole entire card game. I'm not as vehemently hateful towards the game like Spoonie is. Personally, I prefer playing 7 and 6. But I've played Final Fantasy VIII, and I can't for the life of you tell you exactly what the rules of that game are. I have no idea. I just skipped it. But I digress. This fic was also fun just for on Spock's side, as we just see these two characters reacting. I do love a good story where we're just giving a chance to give the characters a chance to relax and breathe. Well, that was one down, 1,000 more to go. I'll see you next time. Oh, and if you want another hint, I'm doing another Star Trek crossover next week. Expect hedgehogs.